sadness. Thanksgiving is a time when my family gets together and tells stories about our creation myths and who we were and who we are and really what we lost.
Colonization.
Could it not be contrived to send the smallpox among those disaffected tribes of Indians? We must on this occasion use every stratagem in our power to reduce them.
Millions of people live in the Amazon, but when the European explorers came over here, they gave them smallpox and wiped out everyone.
Yeah.
And they came back hundreds of years later and there was nothing.
Yep.
Like the entire civilization wiped out.
I don't know what the first Thanksgiving was, but I highly doubt it was a group of happy pilgrims and a group of happy Indians cooking turkey.
With you in that you're talking about wanting to have meaningful dialogue, and that's a problem. You know, right away, I don't know what's going to make whites happy, for Pete's sake. You know, you're talking about trying to find a solution to your problem. You're trying hard to do that, and we're tuning you right out. We're arguing with you. We're not agreeing with anything. We're not trying to give you a chance. For Pete's sake, you know, what do we want?
They have killed my wife, my mother, my child, without cause. They have killed your cousins.
Poisoning Aborigines, 100 of them, laid out at a time. But until quite recently, little of this was even acknowledged.
As thousands of Ethiopian Jews protested against discrimination. It wasn't the first time this community has taken to the streets, but now they have the country's attention.
They buried our babies with only their heads above the ground. All in a row they were. Then they had a test to see who could kick the babies.
As a Native American, what does Thanksgiving mean to me?
Loss of land, genocide, rape. I don't celebrate, the arrival. I don't celebrate Plymouth Rock.
Young people were born in Israel and they feel Israelis, but still they are in many points. People see them as Ethiopians.
How do you justify that? Well, you say that these people
are not really people.
They're not really people.
Yeah.
They're 3/5 human. And that idea, which was shaped for over 2.5 centuries.
The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us? We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us.
Kiss my ass.
Think that individuals, how many years out of slavery, are now owning oil wells that are producing 2,000 barrels a day. Is that not the ultimate American dream? Is that not the ultimate American story? If
Mayhaps I could have got away on beat for you catching me. You remember that? You remember that all day? You killed me. You remember that? You killed me. Because like you just proved what the Peckerwood say.
Don't you realize that when you turn a people upside down and inside out, then sell them, not for a day, not for a year, but for 300 years, and deny us the human right to know, to read a book, to learn, to understand. And then, after 300 years of that, you allow us into the church, but by that time, you've painted Jesus white, God white, the angels white, and then all these black people have been subjected to a form of white supremacy, which produces in the reverse a black inferiority. And
this is just as much our land as it is yours. And after you hang me, kiss my ass.
black people who were brought to this country were stripped of their names, language, culture, religion, God, and taken totally away from the history of themselves.
Horror beyond measure, terrible, brutal, atrocity, massacre.
The Aborigines were deemed to be subhuman, little more than animals, which was to justify not only the theft of their land, but their extermination.
Excuse me, this is the situation. Every young white adult says, I have not done this to black people. I have not done that to black people. But your forefathers are the ones who have set us in the situation we are in. Now, what I'm saying is this. When Nat Turner stood up, you all rejected him. You killed him. When Marcus Garvey stood up, you all rejected him, enslaved him. He died a broken heart. Now, what I'm saying is this. Your fathers have put us in the condition we are in, and today you are profiting from what your forefathers have done. Now.
Aborigines were said to have died out. In fact, they were hunted along with kangaroos and almost wiped out.
I'd rather die than be a slave. You Peckerwood, that's right. You Peckerwoods was oppressed in your own land. We was free, and you brought us here in chains.
Why is it when a black man stands up to speak for his people and other people stand up to speak for their people, there's no problem with it? But you're saying he said black, he said Jew. When people talk, they talk like that. But why is it when a black man stands up to speak for his people, you feel so threatened, everybody's paranoid? And you talk about it's not segregation. We live in Harlem, we live in Watts, we live in Bedford-Stuyvesant. That's a form of segregation. We walk through Bensonhurst, we get killed. So what are you talking about?
Happened after emancipation. These folks were promised freedom after emancipation, and what they got instead was terror, trauma, lynching.
Kiss my ass.